Hello and welcome to the weight gain webinar, a webinar all about dealing with our fear of weight gain. I did do this webinar live, but now I am recording it on my own because I forgot to press record. So if you're watching the recording, which I assume you are, I hope you enjoy all this content and you stay for all the juicy materials. So what I want you to do is grab a pen and paper, a glass of water, maybe a snack, and find somewhere comfortable to sit where you can stay focused without distractions, without technology around you, and really focus in on the words that I'm saying and what I am trying to help you to understand. And I think it could go a long way in trying to decrease your fear of weight gain. So I'm going to share my screen now and we'll start. Right, so dealing with your fear of weight gain. So this is actually on Tuesday, May 26th at 8:30 p.m. I gave this presentation to a group of 5 people and that was really lovely. So who am I? So my name is Francesca Conforti, but most of you probably call me Franny. I am an intuitive eating nutritionist and a disordered eating coach, meaning I work with a bunch of women in their 20s and 30s to heal their relationship with food in their body so that they can start living a fuller life. So after ending a 10-year battle with disordered eating and 2 clinically diagnosed eating disorders, anorexia and bulimia, I am honored to teach women everything that I've learned throughout my journey to improve my own mental health and my physical health as well. So now I am living the life of complete food freedom. Food feels easy and effortless, and I've probably never said that in my life ever before. So huge transformation within me that inspired and encouraged a transformation in other women. So today will be learning why we fear weight gain, Setpoint weight theory, unpacking our story, detaching our worth from our weight, and shifting into body acceptance. So let's begin. Why we fear weight gain. So weight gain is scary for many people, not just you and I. There's obviously a lot of positive reinforcement when we lose weight. And there's a lot of labels attached to weight gain. There's a lot of labels that get attached to the word fat in general. And in general, we all have a weight stigma. So, society has shaped our views and our experiences to show us that being overweight or being fat equals being ugly, unworthy, inferior, or immoral. And so we've learned to equate these words together, fatness and, all these other meanings that we've attached to it and created around the word. And so we have this negative societal view about fat bodies or overweight individuals, which we call weight stigma. And so fatphobia is another term that we use for this phenomenon. And fatphobia is literally an ingrained fear of fatness. A phobia is obviously a fear that's exasperated and maybe not even at the conscious level. And fatphobia is the same. It's been internalized at the subconscious level. So we are constantly fearing what a larger body would look like, not only for ourselves, but in the greater context of the world. So often we have our own internalized fat phobia that we project onto the world, whether we know it or not. And our fat phobia comes from these beliefs that we've held onto for many years regarding what larger bodies tell us. And the story that we've created around larger bodies is often not one that's grounded in reality. If you look at the health at every size movement, if you look at the evidence to support health at every size, you'll see that weight is not synonymous with health. Weight loss is not synonymous with health, and that by looking at a person's size, it's really hard to tell their health status, but we've generalized that larger bodies are generally unhealthier. And so health at every size is a movement that actually unpacks this belief, because it's really harmful to people in larger bodies who are at their natural set point and are just living through their experience of having a body that is naturally larger, where they're experiencing so much in society, whether it's, oppression, whether it's, different types of different types of beliefs that are made about their body, whether it's the fact that they're not healthy enough, whether it's the fact that, you know, they're not taking care of themselves, et cetera, et cetera. These are all beliefs we hold about larger bodies. And so when we start to fear weight gain ourselves, it's because of what we feel other people will judge us for, and what we feel other people's judgments will mean for us, and what it will mean about our own selves. So what it will mean about our identity, our values, who we are as a person. So we've wrapped up a lot of our identity in weight and size and shape. And so there's this constant messaging that thinner bodies are to be idolized and that we should constantly pursue them. So one question to answer in your notebook at home is the question, what am I really afraid of? So if I were to gain weight, it's probably not the weight itself that I'm actually afraid of, because, you know, we can buy bigger clothes, we can deal with having a heavier body, but it's something else that we're often afraid of underlying this issue. And so whether this is not being loved, not being heard, you know, not being accepted by the people that we're in a relationship with or friendship with, whether it's, you know, how we're going to be viewed at work or by our colleagues in the workplace, in our career, et cetera, et cetera. And I know for me, one of the things I worried about a lot is I have this degree in nutrition. I am a nutritionist, and what would people think about me? And how would people follow my advice if I'm in a larger body? This was something I was really afraid of. So I held on a lot to those values that were keeping me stuck in the smaller body, that were keeping me stuck in my eating disorder, really. So yeah, it's a good question to ask yourself, what am I really, really afraid of? Not what the surface level is presenting as, like, oh, I'm afraid of weight gain, but what are you afraid of about the weight gain, other than the weight itself? And it's okay if you don't fit into the beauty standard. I mean, we have been pursuing the beauty standard as long as society has, you know, lived. And there's been different beauty standards over time. Before, larger bodies were seen as the beauty standard, maybe back in the 1800s. And before that, when larger bodies were seen as richer, more affluent bodies. And now we have this entire focus on thinner bodies. So how thin we can get usually is a representation of our status within society, or how, you know, healthy we are, how much effort we put in. And so we're constantly chasing this changing beauty standard, which we'll never truly fit into, because there's, you know, more than a billion different body shapes and sizes. And so it's hard for us to try to constantly aim for one specific shape and size that's been portrayed in the media, and it really deteriorates our own self-worth. So Setpoint weight theory kind of explains why we all have this biological blueprint for what our weight should naturally be. And so it's called a set point, but it's actually a range between 5 to 20 pounds where our bodies thrive the most, and our body often fights us against subtle changes against the set point. So this range can be plus or minus 5 to 20 pounds. So we tend to hover in a certain range depending on our lifestyle and environmental factors, including weather, including, you know, menstrual cycles, including all these things that might change our weight over time, that aren't a part of restriction or intentional weight changes. So many people actually have a hard time accepting that our body has its own natural set point that it generally likes to maintain. And our society wants us to believe that everyone is capable of maintaining and achieving a thin body, so that it can still perpetuate this idea that thinness is a goal that's achievable, that we can spend enough money, spend enough time, spend enough energy on achieving this goal if we do the right things. And we know that this is not true, and that when we push our body out of its natural set point, regardless of the size, the body starts to kick in with its survival mechanisms. So it will slow down metabolism to conserve energy. It will reduce fullness signals and increase the drive to eat. The body interprets dieting, aka any attempt to shrink or control the body, as starvation. So your brain actually sees dieting and calorie restriction as starvation. There's no discernment between 2,000 years ago, when there was no food availability and there was food scarcity, versus now when you've restricted yourself to 1,200 calories. Your body responds in the exact same way, and it's going to try to reduce the mechanisms in your body that are using up the most energy because you're not getting enough energy in. So those things are metabolism, hormone production, anything that it really doesn't need, it will get rid of in order to conserve energy while you're dieting. And so this leads into a slew of repercussions, including, the more you diet, the higher up you drive your set point weight. So essentially, a lot of people, 60% of people who have gone on diets tend to gain back more than what they lost. And this is, again, coming back to the set point weight theory. Our body's going to consistently fight to be at that set point weight range that it's most comfortable at, that your hormones are most balanced at, that your appetite's most regulated at, et cetera, et cetera. And so the way to determine your own set point, I know you're probably wondering, like, what is my set point weight? What does that look like? The only way to determine it is really by letting go of control over your food and your body. And so the set point weight might be the weight that you started at before you started restricting. You've maybe never even seen your set point weight in your entire life because you've always been controlling your body weight. Or it's the weight that your body tends to return to after failed diet attempts. So basically, the only way to get back to our set point weight is to eat intuitively and let go of trying to control our weight through food and exercise. You are so much more than a body, and I just want to remind you of this. Your body is the least interesting thing about you. Your body is not who you are, and we know this. And your body is only this human shell of which you've come to the earth in, which your soul emanates from. It's not really all that you are. So why do we focus all our attention on changing the body itself rather than accepting it and being like who we are and showing up as we are and the body that we were given? And so we all have a story or an internal representation of what it would mean for us to be in a larger body, right? Or to gain too much weight. We all have this story, this narrative that we tell ourselves, like, oh, if I gain too much weight, then, I won't be able to fit into my clothes, and my husband won't want to, won't be attracted to me. Then if I gain too much weight, I can't go to the beach in a bikini anymore. I can't wear shorts anymore. All these stories and narratives we've written around larger bodies, the limitations we've placed on ourselves. So the first step is really to unpack this story. And so maybe this means you've had periods of time being larger. So you in the past, you might have been in a larger body and used dieting and restriction as a means to cope with that and a means of not dealing with the discomfort of allowing your body to be at its set point. But we really need to get past that discomfort and allow ourselves to be who we are unrestricted. And what I mean by that is fully allowing your body weight to reveal itself, really, in your set point weight to reveal itself by discontinuing restriction and discontinuing forced change. And so this feels really uncomfortable at first because we have this story that's deeply ingrained in us of what being in a larger body means. So the story of fatness and of body weight and of food and of embodiment are hard to navigate when our own internal terrain or our own internal thoughts have been only knowing body blame and hate. And so remind yourself that your body is constantly working for you, not against you. Your body is trying to maintain a weight which is most suitable for you innately, and any measures we take to continue to fight this will just cause weight cycling. And weight cycling has been shown to have more negative side effects than weight itself. And you can also read about that in the Health at Every Size book and Intuitive Eating. And so weight cycling is basically yo-yo dieting, or when your weight constantly fluctuates. So the side effects of dieting can actually, in some cases, be more harmful than the side effects of being in a larger body, or that you would assume would come with being in a larger body. And so the story that we create is what drives the fear, not the actual weight itself. So we need to learn to unpack the story that we've written about our own larger body and what our own internal representation of that means. So I want you to take your journal and write, what story am I writing about being in a larger body? And then go ahead and write all the fears that you have about being in a larger body, all the, thoughts you have. Maybe you feel unworthy. Maybe you are going to, lack confidence. Maybe you maybe you'll have to buy bigger clothes, so that makes you feel uncomfortable. Maybe being in a larger body means being pathetic. Maybe it means giving up. Maybe it means being disgusting. Whatever words come to mind, know that this story is not entirely valid and grounded in reality, but it is what you think and believe truly at a subconscious level. So starting to understand and bring awareness to our story is really going to give us the answers and the clues as to why we can't let go of our fear of weight gain. Step 2 is detaching your worth from weight. So how would you describe yourself to someone who doesn't know you? Right now, if I asked you to describe yourself to me, chances are you probably wouldn't tell me your weight and height and eye color. You'd probably tell me about who you are as a person. And so we know that our body size is not who we are as a person, but yet we've still attached our worth to our body size. And so people often internalize our size as part of their identity, whether that's negative or positive. So you might actually be attached and hold on to this identity of who you are in this body. So if you're in a thinner body, maybe you're attached to the identity of thinness. Maybe you're attached to the identity of being a health nut, or, obsessed with health, wellness, and all these kinds of things. So navigating this will be really challenging, because any change to your body size is then going to become an assault on your self-identity. And so when there's this attack on our own self-identity, the brain responds in a way with extreme fear, extreme panic and change. Extreme panic because of change. And so if you've ever felt yourself panic immediately because you've noticed you gain 5 pounds and you start to spiral out of control just because of that 5 pounds, and all of the stories start to come and all the thoughts start to come in, you know that you've attached your worth to your weight. That weight gain means a lot more to you than just the weight itself. It starts to mean something about who you are as a person and what you're capable of. And so we need to start detaching those two things from each other and disassociating them. So when you're constantly complimented for your appearance over your personality and achievements, as this often happens in this thin obsessed culture we're in, it's really easy to see how we can attach our self-worth and get wrapped up in this body size. So when we're constantly encouraging smaller bodies, giving compliments to people in smaller bodies, encouraging weight loss, saying like, oh, how did you do that? I'm so proud of you. You look amazing. All these things about weight loss, then we are perpetuating this narrative that weight gain is something negative, shameful, not encouraged, not valued, and not seen as attractive. So it's really, really easy to see why our appearance is really important to all of us. And there seems to be more increasing pressure on appearance as we go on, especially with social media, with, different magazines, what we see in films. Larger bodies are often not as prevalent. They're not as in our face. We don't see them. We're not exposed to them. And so we need to do exposure therapy in that way to actually get past this idea that a larger body is a negative thing. So one question to answer in your notebook is, what do you feel unworthy of if you gained more weight? And so this is a hard question, but often we'll feel unworthy of things like being loved by a partner, lover, spouse. We'll feel unworthy of, showing up in the clothing that we want to wear. We'll feel unworthy of going to the wedding or the vacation or the whatever it might be, where your body is kind of put on display and you have to face the discomfort of that. And so this feeling of unworthiness really stems from the things we've attached our body and our worth to. So by unpacking this, we're starting to dissociate those two things. We're starting to detach worth from weight. And so here's an exercise you can try. So you can actually draw like a flower in your journal, with the center being you, and write down and fill the petals of each of the flower, with things that you value about yourself that have nothing to do with your appearance. So if you're having a hard time thinking about these things, think of the compliments you've received from other people that are not attached to your weight. So like, being a great friend, you have an amazing smile, you're really hardworking, you are so creative and artistic, you can cook really, really well, etc. So all these things that are not really and have nothing actually to do with your appearance that you can base your self-worth off of, because we want to create a new foundation for our self-worth that is not contingent on our weight. So we need to start shifting our attention to the things about us that have nothing to do with what we look like. And so the third one is shifting into body acceptance. So if you feel like the only person in the world right now who can't fully commit to the idea of complete and total self-love, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I think there's the idea that, you know, self-love is this goal that we're trying to achieve, or, you know, something that should come naturally, and it really, really doesn't, especially if you spend a lot of your life in the self-hate mode. And so what we want to work on first is body neutrality. So being able to see our body from a loving place where we respect it for what it does, and we respect it for its role in our life. And we're steering our thoughts actively away from self-hate, but without the pressure to love our body right now. So body neutrality is remembering that even though you don't love yourself right now, you can be neutral about your body. You don't have to accept every flaw that it comes with, but you also don't have to hate on it 24/7. You don't have to feel negative about it. And eventually you can start to move along the number line. Like if this was, you know, self-hate over here and self-love over here, you can start to move along the number line to neutrality, to a place where we can feel comfortable just living in our bodies, living through this experience of who we are without putting so much pressure on arriving at the destination of self-love. And sometimes that decreases the pressure to get there. That decrease in pressure helps us appreciate our body a lot more without feeling like we need to get to another destination. So remind yourself that your body is fluid. Your body is going to change a lot over your lifetime. I mean, if I still look like this by age 80, I'll be really afraid. And so I know that my body is going to change throughout my lifetime. So if I don't attach my worth to a specific size and shape, then I will have more consistent feelings of self-worth over time than I would if I continued to attach my confidence, my worth to a specific size and shape, which I know will change. I know will fluctuate, because that's how bodies operate. Even within a month, they will fluctuate, or even within a week. And so one tip is to ask yourself throughout the day, how do I feel in my body? Not how do I look, how do I feel? How does my body feel today? Does it feel heavy and sluggish and uncomfortable, or does it feel good and light and fun and nourished, you know? And another tip is to create an affirmation to remind yourself that you're in the process of learning how to love your body. So, you know, a lot of people work with affirmations and it's like, oh, I love myself, I care for myself, I feel so good in my body. And sometimes those don't feel really authentic to us. Maybe we're not at that place yet. So creating an affirmation like, I am learning to love my body. I am learning to accept these changes. I am learning to shift into self-love. Sometimes feels a lot more manageable. And again, it's like taking the pressure off of feeling complete and total self-love and trying to get to a place of neutrality, which obviously takes a lot more work than this 30-minute presentation. But these are just some tips that you might find useful. 2 more steps that you can take today. So 1 is to throw out old clothes that don't fit you. Clothes should fit your body, not the other way around. And so if you're hoping that doing this will inspire you to lose weight, it won't. This only drives your confidence down, and it makes you feel like you need to look a particular way or achieve a certain size. So often we hang on to these old clothes as a way to motivate ourselves, and this is not motivation. This is an act of self-hate, really. If you're trying to fit your body into clothes, it's not going to work for you. You need to find clothes that fit your body so that you can start feeling comfortable in your here and now body, rather than always thinking about the potential body that you'll have if you restrict enough or exercise enough. And so the second tip is to get comfortable in your looking at your here and now body. So not only get comfortable clothes for your here and now body so that you can feel better in your body, but get comfortable looking at yourself. So take photos of yourself, you know, not ones that you're going to post necessarily, but just take photos of yourself without judging them or deleting the bad ones. Just take different angles, you know, put on the selfie timer and look at your body through a different lens, literally. You know, look at yourself in the mirror from different angles. Get used to looking at yourself physically and not calling out a negative comment. If a negative comment does start to come to your mind, ask yourself how you can shift that, or, you know, replace it with a positive comment about yourself. Get used to your body. And another thing that I recommend is solo naked dance parties. Again, let yourself be free, let yourself have that type of body freedom and liberation by being completely naked and vulnerable, really, and learning to accept this person for who and what it looks like right now, not what we aspire to achieve, right? Bodies are meant to change. Keep reminding yourself, bodies are meant to change. They're not meant to stay the same size their whole life. They're not meant to stay the same size they were when you were in high school or when you were in your 20s. Bodies are meant to transform and shift and change, as do you. So by holding on to the idea that our bodies can always stay the same, we are setting ourselves up for a false sense of confidence, for a false sense of success, because we know that it's not going to be long lasting. And, if you want to explore this within yourself, like ask yourself, has there ever been a time where my weight has been the exact same number for a year? No. Has there ever been a time a diet has worked for me long term? Probably not. Has there ever been a time where, my body hasn't changed and shifted and grown out of clothes? Probably not. We're always changing and growing. Maybe we get to our set point weight in life where things start to level out. But if we're constantly focused on controlling our body, we're not going to get to a place of accepting it for what it looks like right now. And we're not going to get past our fear of weight gain. So remember that your body is supposed to gain weight from time to time. It is supposed to change from time to time. And it's fluid. It is constantly evolving and growing with you. So are you ready to let go of this fear? Because this is one of the biggest fears I see with my coaching clients who want to get off the disordered eating roller coaster. They're often asking me, like, what happens if I gain weight when I let go of this eating disorder? What if my body changes when I start to practice intuitive eating? What if I decide to have 10 cookies and become out of control? What happens then? I hear this all the time, and it's a really, really scary place to be. But the truth is that the road to food freedom and body trust isn't easy. And in my personal experience and watching clients recover, it's definitely worth fighting for. And it's the only promising sign of true recovery is shifting into food freedom, intuitive eating, body acceptance, and trust. So if you are interested in working together, we can book a 30-minute discovery call, which is free, and we will dive into what your current challenges around disordered eating are, what's keeping you stuck in your disordered eating, your vision and goal, and what programs I can offer you that might help your situation or find the solutions that you're looking for. So to set this up, you can either send me a DM at Franny's Food Freedom, check out my website where you can book a free call, or send me an email at frannysfoodfreedom@gmail.com. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for coming. And if you watched the replay of this, you can use my code June15 for your 15% off my programs in the month of June. But again, if you want to join one of my programs other than the Food Freedom Bundle, we will have to book a call where we talk about it and see if we are the right fit for each other. So thank you so much. I hope you learned a ton of free value and that you're walking away from this feeling a bit better about the idea of weight gain, and that it reduced your fear somewhat. And know this as someone who has been on the other side of recovery from an eating disorder, that weight gain was one of my biggest fears as well. And fortunately, being in a larger body now also meant being a lot happier, having my freedom, being really comfortable around food, and having lots of ease and effort in my life where I used to spend a lot of time thinking about my body. And so when we stop restricting, when we start to shift into acceptance, our life does become a lot easier. And I know how this fear feels on the other side, and I know it's really, really scary, and it really holds you back from change and transformation, but you are so deserving of it. And if body size meant happiness, then we would all be really, really thin. But I can tell you that being in a larger body can be so liberating and can provide you with all the happiness that you're seeking in the first place. It's just learning how to start within and how to start working on our thoughts first. So I hope you have a great day. Once again, I'm Franny's Food Freedom. Go and follow me on Instagram, and